the first time, but there we go. We are both IIN graduates, which is great. I see a lot of graduates coming out of IIN. I also went to the Spencer Institute, which was just a small school and institution years and years ago, and realized that was not enough for me. So let's go ahead and get started with content. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I started health coaching and kind of what I learned along the way. So I started as a personal trainer, realizing that people wanted the 45-minute workout, but what they really wanted more from me was the hour and a half of my time afterwards, asking me about food and disease and conditions and all of the other issues that they were dealing with. And I was spending, so much time that I didn't even leave to go to eat lunch before my next class would start, because I was still talking to my morning classes. And so I started to realize that with all of the information I had gathered from just my own interest in health and my passion about having an optimized life, I could actually help other people learn how to do the same thing, to live well, feel better, have a better relationship with their family, all of those things. So in 2010, I got that little bit of a certification with Spencer Institute, and I just kind of went off and running, thinking, well, I'm just going to tell people how great it is to eat whole food and stay away from gluten, and we're all going to be better and happy. And then I realized, wait a minute, they want a plan. Wait a minute, I'm putting things in writing, and my name's attached to this, and so is my insurance, and so is my family and my house. And then the panic set in, and the sleepless nights started, because as I got busier, and where I lived at the time, word of mouth was everything. So I was getting calls every 3 days. Someone would say, oh, I heard you helped so-and-so with their thyroid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a medical term. Now, can I even use that? It was startling, to say the least, how much I did not know about what I should know before I started helping other people. So to say that I had no documents, I had no business license, I had no idea what I was getting into. That is an understatement. So over the years, I started to gather pieces of information with my husband's panicky self over to the side, saying, have you checked on taxes for our house yet? Have you done this? I realized that I needed to get my ducks in a row, and I took a little bit of a break from coaching and putting anything in writing, and I started creating a plan, creating documents that would, what I thought would cover me, and finding an attorney that could help me look over those things. So I am so glad that everybody's here today, so that Lisa can set us straight. For many of you, I've heard from in messages, are just getting out of school right now and are literally afraid that you've just dropped $5,000-$6,000 on a certification and can't even use it because you're in a state that doesn't allow it. So I'm hoping we can clear some of that up today. Okay, so what I learned in my first year of coaching is, yes, a quality certification is important. I also learned you don't have to give your life away for free, and that you deserve to be paid for your knowledge. And I also learned that people may try to take advantage of you. So why are these things important in relationship to the safety of coaching in this profession? They're important because if you have a system and you present yourself professionally by having the documents you need, by having the licenses that you need, the certifications, and presenting yourself as someone who doesn't just do this as a hobby, people will see you as a serious coach, okay? And part of that is knowing that when you're coaching them, that they feel safe in your care, knowing that you've done everything you can to make sure you're sane and doing the right things in this profession. Very, very important. So let's talk about what we're going to learn about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the health coach scope of practice, how to look up your state color, insurance options, language and written content that's safe, licenses, taxes, and more, and legal resources for websites. And just as a reminder, you guys have a chat box there. Feel free to type in any questions, or in your Q&A. We are going to go to those questions at the end of the webinar. But in the interest of time and keeping this smooth and consistent, we're going to roll through the webinar first. So I'm not going to talk about every single one of these, but I am going to touch on a couple of things I feel like maybe some coaches are confused about, and what we are responsible for doing as coaches. So the very first one, I think, that kind of puts us in that safety zone as a coach is that we understand that we are providing reliable resources and information to clients through a delivery they will understand. And what this means is that we aren't sending them PubMed articles and saying, let me know what you think, because those are hard to understand. Those are really difficult for people who are unwell or trying to reach goals to sift through. What I am talking about is if there is, let's use an example of someone who has, you know, a leaky gut. We've established that they've got leaky gut because we've seen that the doctor says that's a diagnosis. We're not going to go out there and say to them, okay, so this is what you need to eat, okay? And you need to take this and you need to do this. And most of the time we're speaking because we've been through that experience. But that is not what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to give them the opportunity to make a decision for themselves. And that means saying, here are a couple of options that I've found reliable and that are based on science, or I've studied, or whatever language you want to use. Why don't you take a look at either one of these and tell me if either one of those might resonate with you, and if you choose to follow one of those, let me know which one so I can keep up with that. So that gives them, that puts everything in their court, that tells them, you know, I've studied this, I feel like these are reliable, I'm going to give these to you and let you make that decision. You then take that off the table. You're not telling them to do that plan. You're simply saying, here's something that might help you, okay? So we're there obviously to offer emotional support. Can't tell you how many times my husband has made fun of me for when I come home and I have one of those little empty Kleenex packs in my hand. And he says, who did you make cry today? And basically, I don't think it's that they're making someone cry. I think that when clients come to us and they're overwhelmed about their health issues, they want us to say, all you have to do is eat this, do this, and do this. You're going to feel so much better. When what we really should be saying is, tell me what's going on in your life right now. It literally opens the floodgates of emotion for people because they feel like they can just share their information, get things off of their chest, and it allows us just to sit and listen and see what's really going on. So supporting the client-practitioner relationship is really important because ultimately we are telling them to talk to their doctor. That is a huge thing that relieves us of responsibility because we want them to run everything that they're doing through their doctor. Even if many of them don't, we're still telling them that that's important. And by giving them tools for a successful meeting, like saying to them, make sure that you have someone go with you, make sure that you take a notebook to take notes, things like that. That just reminds them that, you know, you need to be prepared and try to be present when you're in that meeting with your doctor. So let's skip down a little bit to providing links for understanding lab work. This is a big one that comes up with a lot of the clients, the coaches that I mentor. They say, how do you tell somebody what their labs mean? Well, I don't tell them what they mean. I actually provide links for reading labs to that client. And if they want me to get on the phone with them or get in person with them and go through those links, I can kind of explain, well, this is what this word means. And but I'm reading from the actual page. So I'm not telling them what their labs mean. I'm helping them to understand them and giving them tools for the future as well. So we're there obviously to support their health goals, learn about the client from a functional perspective, which means going deeper than just knowing what they ate for breakfast and how much they're exercising. It's important to be a good steward of their money and their time. And that means, you know, be respectful of the fact that they're paying you to help them because many times we have people that, you know, their spouse doesn't necessarily agree with someone hiring a coach. I see that a lot where women say, well, let me tuck away a few dollars here and there, and then I'll get back with you. You know, we need to let them know we are going to do the best thing that we can to empower them to make good decisions for their future and give them life skills. So it's an investment in their health. Providing referrals to other resources to complement their relationship to you, So if somebody, you know, has something going on and they say they want to get pregnant, but they want you to help them with their plan, I might say, you know, why don't you try acupuncture? I've heard that's great. Here's a link to someone you can talk to. Maybe that will help. Things like that. So always just consistently giving them resources and reminding them that the decisions that they make are their own. Okay. So using written content that is supportive and not suggestive is also really important. So when you're saying things, we're going to go up to the next page here. I'm going to go into the discussion part in just a moment with some examples. But when you're saying things to people, you want to say things like, I recommend that you look into this, things like that. Okay. You never want to say, you should do this one. It absolutely worked for me. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So please feel free to tell me if I'm talking too fast, Lisa. I'm a Midwestern.
No, you're doing great. And there's a lot to cover. So you're on it, Carmen. Yeah. You're on it.
Yeah, I do have a tendency to speed right along. But
you're doing great.
Okay,
no, this is perfect.
All right. So most certified coaches are not told about their state colors and restrictions. It is impossible to cover every international need. And that's, you know, a point that Lisa made to me, that schools, because I've always say, you know, why aren't schools telling people about this? Why aren't they sharing this information with coaches? And she said, it is impossible to cover every international need. Absolutely is. And so that's kind of one thing I like to make sure that I throw into everything I teach when I'm teaching coaches, when I'm doing courses, when I'm mentoring my coaches, that it's your responsibility to know what it is. Go out there and find it. And this is where this leads us. And I'm not going to click on this. I'm afraid that it's going to take me somewhere where, I may not get back to, but I am providing these links and information in your follow-up email. You're going to have all of this information. Okay. So nutritionadvocacy.org, if you haven't been there yet, you need to go there. All the states, it's a really easy, user-friendly site. You simply click on your state and it brings up your laws and everything you need to read about. Okay. All right. So
Carmen, wait, real quick. Can I just add something to that
sure.
slide? So the nutritionadvocacy.org website, that's where, and we'll get into this, but that's where it talks about red states, green states, et cetera. The only thing I just want to add, Carmen, is that those laws change all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
So right now, there are even green states that have laws that are pending that will turn them into red states.
Absolutely.
So you have to go back and check that nutritionadvocacy.org all the time. And it really is just a summary for you. It's not, they have links to the exact state laws, but please go back and check every couple of months.
Okay, I took the chance and I went ahead and clicked it while you were talking. I thought, well, she's talking and it'll distract if something goes wrong. But let me show you what it looks like. Just as an example, I'm in the state of Tennessee and it is a red state. Blaring red, always has been. So when
Carmen, we can't see it. I can't see it over here on my end, just FYI.
You can't see that?
Nope, it's just a blank screen right now.
Well, that's just crazy. Hold on a minute, because it looks like it's saying screen sharing.
People are saying they can't see it either.
Okay, let's try this. Here we go.
There we see it now. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for the comments.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, so let me go back to the home page. You should have seen
there we go
when it came up. So I'm in a red state. Let me repeat, and that's right here. I'm going to click on that. So when I click on the red state, what she's talking about is it basically gives you these general guidelines. Okay, and they are always changing. So you've got a lot of links in here that talk about what your scope of practice is with different professions, because it's not just for health coaches. Let me just say that. It is also for nutritionists and RDs and anyone that is in that pathway of nutrition, okay? So just keep that in mind, that when you click on that, it is just a guideline, and it is very helpful to know what state you're in. But as you can see, they give you a little bit of an outline of other people that are covered under this particular so-called nutrition care and other health professions. Very important. Okay. All right. So let's move into the insurance thing. Now, I've had Philadelphia insurance since I was personal training, and thank God.
Real quick, Carmen, pardon me for interrupting. We're still seeing the nutritionadvocacy.org screen, so I didn't know if you wanted to hop back over to the slideshow.
What is going on with that? I'm sorry about that, you guys. Hold on.
That's okay. No worries.
Let's see. You know what?
There we go. We're good. We're back. You're good.
General screen share. Yeah, that's going on. It's the general screen share keeps hopping into a new share.
You're good.
So insurance is a must. And once again, I had Philadelphia insurance when I started personal training. So I was covered for the actual health coaching at the time, which I didn't know. Thank God I was covered. But you also have another option out there. The HPSO is another thing that came to my attention here in the last couple of weeks as a potential option for health coaches. However, I do want to say that I had to make several calls because I could not find health coach under HPSO, but what they label us as is a health educator. Mm-hmm. So we can get insurance from HPSO, but we are claiming ourselves as a health educator, not a health coach. But I do encourage you to call in and make sure you give them detailed information about your business to ensure the best coverage, because we are all different, and what you do in your practice may be different than what I do. So real important to just make sure you call each one of these places and pick the best choice for yourself. Okay, so this goes right along with what Lisa was telling us a few minutes ago. Being in a green state can offer a false sense of security, making you feel like you can say anything you want about health. And you know, that to me, that's just a dangerous slippery slope unless you're getting on nutrition advocacy every day to check the status of your state. Again, like she said, it turned to orange or yellow or red at any point. We don't know. So act as if you're in a red state when you start coaching. Just pretend that you are in a red state and start that way, because I've actually had some coaches that have gone out and built entire websites and programs and all of that based around their state, which was green at the time, and everything says nutrition, and says all of the words that we're not supposed to say. And
Exactly.
the girls had to go back and had pay a website guy another $2,000 to change everything to a red state language.
Yep.
So this way you'll never have to recreate your documents and start over because you move or your state status changes. So just start out, acting like you're in a red state for extra protection. Okay, so this is another one of the mistakes that I learned. I didn't learn this one the hard way. Fortunately, this was brought to my attention about 4 years ago after I'd been coaching for a little bit over a year and a half. Someone said, have you gone through your website? She was actually a business coach for health coaches. And she asked me, had you gone through your website? I think I saw a couple of words in there that you shouldn't be saying. And I was like, what would those words be? And she sent me this list. It was all over my website. I had words in there, diagnose, prevent, nutrition, all of those words. And I get a lot of people that say to me, why can't we say nutrition? We went to nutrition school. Well, what you can do is you can call yourself an integrative nutrition coach because you went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. But you can't tell someone how to change their nutrition. And I don't know the details of this. Lisa may have more, but what I did learn, what I learned was that the Institute of Integrative Nutrition went and lobbied for us to be able to use that title, but that does not change how we can practice. Does that make sense? Is that about?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's right. And the reason why we can't say diagnose, prevent, cure, treat, and heal is because those are words that are only reserved for medical practitioners. So only doctors and medical practitioners can use those words. And a tricky one, all of us as health coaches, we really want to help prevent. We're into prevention, healthcare prevention, but we have to be really careful using that word, and so that we're not making a medical claim about something. So we're like Carmen said so beautifully, as health coaches, we're really trying to use words that are suggestive, like this will support you, this will assist you, these are tools to help you, resources to help you, but we're not actually curing or healing or treating or preventing your diagnosis because you're working with me as a health coach.
Right.
Really, really important.
And we're not saying that you can heal or cure.
That's right.
And I'm not diagnosing you. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great. Thank you for elaborating on that. So this is what I say. I say the word suggest.
Yep, exactly.
What it means in Webster Dictionary is just I'm putting this forward for consideration to you, but I'm not telling you what to do. Okay. I sound like a broken record, but.
No, it's important, Carmen. It's really important. Yeah, it's great.
So, this is an idea right here, the language and written content that you can sprinkle into your sessions with your clients in writing or verbally are things like, and I'll use some examples here. So I might tell someone to think about asking for a more thorough thyroid panel. I might say, I would suggest looking into what broccoli can do to the thyroid if you're concerned about it. Here's a link for you to look further into that. Consider and think carefully that this might be an option for you. I will be sending you things to think about. That's a big one I use a lot. If this were me, and I tell people that all the time my clients, when I go on the phone, I say, you're going to hear me say, if this were me a lot, because I can't tell you what to do. And I do preface all of my sessions with that. So I say to them, if this were me and I were in that body and this were my situation, this is what I might think about doing. Never act on anything without talking to your doctor. This is a big one too. I suggest you get a physical before starting any new program. I actually have a doctor's template that I offer with my course that gives them something to give to their clients that they can take to their doctor, and they can request those particular things from their doctor. So it's been really helpful for getting to the bottom of some people's issues. Remember, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm simply making suggestions. And this is only an idea, but make sure you study your options. So all of those things, as you can see, are just I'm making suggestions to them. Nothing in there is saying to them, do this, do that, take this, or take that. You have anything you want to add to that, Lisa?
Yeah, sure. And in your legal documents, when you're using a client agreement with your client, you also will have sections in there, disclaimer language, that tell exactly what Carmen just said. So the language in the document will actually say, please talk to your doctor before starting this program. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not guaranteeing your results. I'm not standing in the place of your doctor. These are just recommendations and tools to help you and support you as a health coach, but I'm not in any way representing that I am a doctor or taking the place of the relationship you have with your doctor.
Right. Yeah. And another thing I like to add to that is, You know, in my original disclaimer that I started using, I say this is not a prescriptive service.
Mm-hmm.
This, you know, I'm not a this, or this. I mean, I outlined the whole thing. I told everybody I'm not a doctor, I'm not a this, I'm not a that. I made sure that they knew that that was not who I was. Made it very clear. Okay.
Right.
So let's talk about what else do you need as a health coach to get started, or what do you need to look at if you're not doing it already? You need business licenses. And interestingly enough, I didn't realize, this is another thing that I learned late along the way, is that I'm in a municipality, which means you need, you have two forms of government. You have county, we have the city. Well, of course I got a city business license because that's what I was, told to do. And I lived in the city of Clarksville. I'm in the city limits, but I didn't realize that because I'm so-called in the county as well. I'm like, how could you even be in the city without being in the county? It didn't make any sense to me. I was told I needed 2 licenses. So I had a delay in applying for that, which caused me to have to backtrack and re-sign up. Didn't financially affect me except for having to pay those back licensing fees. But now I'm covered. And I was very nervous about it because I was getting things in the mail that was saying property tax, because you haven't filed a business license, your property tax could be up to $1,500 to $1,600 per quarter. I mean, things that were scary, especially to my husband. So let me just say that you need to get on your websites, and let me click this. I'm going to do a new share. I'm going to get this thing down for you guys. It's the last thing I do.
You did it.
All right. Yay. See?
Yay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So, basically what this is small business administration page. You can look at some great information on here on what you might need. And I do like the idea down here that they have licensing offices that you can look up and give you a general idea of what you need. But a phone call for me always makes me feel like I've covered all my bases. And I'm going to tell you why that is important, because, and I'm going back to the screen here, because, when I did the state taxes, can you see are you able to see the slide deck?
No, we were just looking at, we see a nice picture of a guy hanging upside down, bungee jumping. There we go. Now we're back to the slide deck.
There's a slight delay for the screen. For some reason, my Mac
is back.
But let me just say that when it comes to, we'll move into the tax conversation because that's where this example comes from.
Yep.
I didn't actually sell a product. So I never went out and even looked at Tennessee state tax because I was told, you don't sell a tangible product, so you don't need to register with the state. Well, that all changed as my downloadable programs and courses started coming into play. People were actually able to download and print my information, which made it a tangible product. So that exposed me to the fact that I need to now register with the state, which I've done. But at the time, I had no idea that a piece of paper and an online business was going to create this issue for me because it wasn't considered tangible at one point. And when I called in, I was told, don't worry about it because you don't have something people are putting their hands on. I didn't trust that enough, so I emailed them and said, I'm a little uncomfortable with this and I don't want to get in a situation where I owe money later. And they wrote me back and said, you are responsible. So I got one answer on the phone, one answer on email. So make sure that you are absolutely 100% sure of what you are required to pay, and get it in writing. Get something in writing from somebody and stick it into a folder. Go ahead.
Carmen, could I just add that, by the way, you guys, every single county, city, and state are totally different.
Yes.
So what your friend might need or what Carmen might need in Tennessee could be very different for you based on the state where you are, or the city or the county or the municipality where you are. So definitely check with your local governments and your state government. And I also saw a couple questions coming in as you were talking where people were asking, if you're a sole proprietor, do you need an employee identification number or a tax ID number? That actually is a federal number. That's different than what Carmen's talking about with state tax. That's a federal number. And you can get one as a sole proprietor so that you don't have to use your social security number when you are reporting your business income to the government. So I thought I'd just address that while we were talking about taxes.
Excellent. Do you want it? You can see the Q&A folder.
Right? I just kind of saw 3 words come in and I just kind of knew what I get these questions all the time. So and I'm sure if someone else has a different question, we can answer it at the end, but I just caught those and thought I'd answer them for people who are wondering now.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's another tip for you guys when it comes to your business stuff. I do hear a lot of people say, well, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to hire an attorney. I can't afford to hire a webmaster. I can't afford to do one more thing because I'm just starting out. The beauty of starting a business is that you get to write a lot of things off. Right down to, tracking your mileage. Like this year, I think it was 54 cents on the mile for 2015.
Yep.
Which is several $100s if you're driving to meet your clients. Keep your receipts for everything. I mean, every time I bought coffee for a client during a consultation or brought a gift to them, I wrote those things off.
Yep.
But again, it's really important to have an accountant, for somebody to be able to look objectively at what you're doing with your business and say to you, you know what, that's not legal, or yes, that's legal, you can write that off. Or they give you great ideas too, like even if you work at home, about the square footage of your home that you can write off. I mean, it's really important that, I think that one of the things I wish someone had told me when I was first starting was, if you can outsource for the things that you are not passionate about or that you don't love to do and grow your business faster that way, it's worth the investment, especially since you can write those things off. And just make sure that, you get people that have a reputation in this business, or people that other people have used. I mean, I have used a lot of different people and I recommend. So like I recommend Lisa, because I've done a little research on her before I even had her on here, and have heard wonderful things. So reach out to your peers and ask for recommendations on the things that you can outsource. And in accountants, there's online accountants you can use as well. So I'm all about having people who know their business look at my business. It's just really, it's really just peace of mind for me, really. Anything you want to say? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just want to add, it's so funny the timing of this, because just this week on my Facebook page, I actually have done 5 days of tax tips to help prepare people. So it's facebook.com/Lisa Fraley Legal Coach. And what the first day is exactly about what Carmen said about business expenses, what expenses you can take. Exactly. The second day is about income. Third day is about accountants. Fourth day is about LLCs. And today's tip was about bank accounts. So check it out if you have time, and that will go into more detail.
And I'll share that link as well in the email. So it just, just as I just wanted to throw this out there too, is I kept all my receipts and stuffed them in this yellow envelope. I took a lot of courses and spent a lot of money on my business last year. Every penny I made from my business went back into my business, which I recommend if you're trying to do something different or grow your business. And I took that nice big fat envelope into my accountant and I said, what do I do with this? And she said, okay, you can either pay me $310 an hour to go through those receipts or you can do it at home. And I was like, I'll take that home.
Do it at home.
Yeah, and she gave me a nice little, tax form that said, file your things under professional services, legal.
Right.
So I used that as an outline, opened up my island for the day, and sifted all through and got it organized. So get organized if you can before you go, is all I can do. If you want to save some money. So.
And by the way, that tax tip that I offered on the first day has a sample Excel spreadsheet, which is what you're talking about.
Awesome. Yeah, great. I almost fell out because she said it would probably take me about 3 hours to go through this. And I was like, all right.
It's worth it. And you do want to keep your income and expenses for your business totally separate from your personal life.
Absolutely.
Really important.
Yeah, especially if you're a volunteer, you do a lot of donating to nonprofits. That's totally different than what you do for your business. Okay. So just, uncertainty, in my opinion, causes great stress. Oh my God. And so one thing I just want to make sure you do is, whether you have documents. I know I have a lot of my clients or my old clients or students on here right now that have my documents. And I've always said to them, even if you're getting my documents, have them looked at by someone else.
Right.
What is legal here may not be legal there. So always have someone take a look at your documents. And when I say the word documents, some of you might not even be rolling with coaching yet. And you're like, what is she talking about? I mean the things that go into your client's hands, like intake forms and follow-up forms, anything that you use consistently or you're considering adding into your practice. Have someone look at those and make sure that you're not saying the wrong things in them. Okay. And like I said, even if the person you bought them from already has them covered on their end, you need them covered on your end as well. So best to be safe, consult with an attorney or some, use one that knows the business. Okay. All right, so Lisa, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to open this up to you, but let's do this so we don't get too far in with questions. Let's answer the questions that are on here, and then I'm going to go ahead and
Sure, of course.
Hey, Bonnie, I know there's a glare on my glasses. I'm very, very aware of it every time I do a webinar, but I can't see a thing with. So I apologize, and there's no glasses that exist that don't glare. I've done all the searching I can do on that. So if you know of any, please share it with me. I'll buy 10 pairs. Let's see here. Why can the young person with the nail through their face at Whole Foods recommend nutrition info without a penalty?
Great question.
Yes.
So here's why. Most states, and again, we can't say all because we don't know we haven't looked at all the state law right this moment, but in most states allow an exception for a health food store or a grocery store, or someone who sells supplements from a business, like a building, physical building, to be able to make recommendations about the products that they're selling. So that's why the Whole Foods employee can talk to you about what they recommend that you might take if you come in with a question.
Okay, and that also leads into let's talk a little bit about, because I get a lot of this on my Facebook group page. Let's talk a little bit about the MLMs, the Advocares, and Shaklee, and those people. They're out there telling people, drink this, take that. How are they able to do that?
Yep. Well, here, what's interesting is that actually recently there was a lot of controversy around some essential oil companies making medical claims about some of these products. So now the rule of thumb is that you actually don't want to name those products by name on your own website. You need to not name them by name, but link to their website really generically. So be really careful about that. That's really important. Also, the reason why they can do that is they have to use the same caution that you do actually as a health coach. They really need to, if you are an MLM distributor with doTERRA, USANA, whatever, you need to be very careful and not make recommendations either. You need to follow everything Carmen just said and make suggestions or recommendations or things to consider. And part of what's so important about having your legal documents in place is that in your legal documents, you have language that protects you around that. But use the same caution, use the same disclaimers when you make recommendations for people if you're an MLM company too.
Great. Yeah, that comes up all the time, how frustrating it is that here we are trying to do the right thing by suggesting whole food living and sleep and, stress management, all of that. And yet we can't say the things that we know.
I know.
We provide that for people. Yeah, it is. It can be frustrating, but
it can.
It can. Okay, so then Dave asked, is there such a thing as ministerial exemption when talking about nutrition?
Good. Oh, interesting. Great question. So, that's an interesting question, Dave. So under the law, when it comes to confidentiality and privilege and things, you can have a physician-patient relationship. You can have attorney-client privilege. You can have minister congregation member privilege. So those, you are held to a different standard, but I'm not sure, unless you look at your state's law to see if there's an exemption there. There isn't a blanket exemption for you to be able to discuss nutrition. Going to that nutrition advocacy site would be a place to start. Otherwise, looking at the laws in your state around being a minister, I would look there. But each state could be different. But overall, I'm not familiar with a general blanket statement that allows you to do that as a minister. You can heal, though. That's the one thing I will say. Ministers do have the authority to heal. That is one word that you can use. If you do have an ordained minister, status, or you're a rabbi or something like that, you want to be very, very clear on your website that that's what you are. You want to hold yourself out as a rabbi and a health coach, or a minister and a health coach, or whatever particular denomination you are, because that's the only thing that will give you that protection. So you have to make it really clear to people that you are holding yourself out as someone who has that religious certification.
Okay, so to spin off of that question, this is something I was thinking when you were talking. Do they need to be clear about what role they're playing when they're doing that? So for example, if someone comes to someone for health coaching and they're speaking to them as a health coach, do they need to say, they have to be careful to avoid the word heal unless they say, from a ministerial coaching perspective, what's the guideline there? What's the line?
Yeah. I do a lot of work with people around licensed practitioners, whether you're a doctor, a minister, someone who has any kind of license, physical therapist, occupational therapist, massage therapist, because I used to be a health coach. I worked in the healthcare law, so I actually know a bit about the licensed professions. And when it comes, it's really, really tricky stuff. So in the sense of being a minister and a health coach, what Carmen said is exactly right. Like, if you are going to use the word heal, you need to hold yourself out to the public. That's what it's called. You need to hold yourself out, present yourself on your business card, on your website. Everything that you write will say minister and health coach, whatever the title is that you actually use. You want to say that you're both. However, when it comes to medical practitioners like massage therapists, doctors, nurses, you actually usually want to keep your professions separate, entirely separate. And that's because for licensed healthcare practitioners, your licensure, your scope of practice is usually to a particular state or whatever states you're licensed in, whereas health coaches, we work with people all over the world. Health coaches work with people all over the world. So if you are a licensed medical practitioner, you do want to keep that work that you do entirely separate. And I go as far, and I tend to be more conservative when it comes to these things legally. I would say you need to have an entirely separate website for your health coaching practice versus your massage therapy or physical therapy or whatever other specialty that you have. Keep them totally separate so that the investigative board can't come to you and say, oh, you're actually practicing outside the scope of your licensure over here on your health coaching website because you're saying that you're a physical therapist and a health coach, and your physical therapy license doesn't let you do that. So be really, really careful. But with your minister's certification, or, and I'm sorry if I'm not using the right word, please check to see what you're allowed to do and how far. Usually ministry is not bound by borders. You can minister to people all over the place typically. So, but make sure you check with your own organization.
Great. Okay. So we have one more question that I want you to go into.
Okay.
Yeah. And we will cover all questions, but let me ask this one. Marie asked you discussed not using the word nutrition on our website, but IIN has changed our initials from CHHC to INHC, Integrative Nutritional Health Coach. Is that a no-no?
Yeah, and Carmen talked about this a little bit. It depends on what state you're in. I tend to be really conservative when it comes to this, and I would say that I would just call yourself a health coach personally. I wouldn't even call yourself an integrative nutrition health coach if you're in a red or orange state. Yeah. You might be able to, but I've just helped health coaches who've been investigated, who actually, like one client has a $17,000 fine that she got out of, fortunately, but they take it very seriously. What you can do is in your bio or your about page, you can say, I graduated from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in this year, period. Like, you can say your education, definitely. But I would just call yourself a health coach or a wellness coach or a holistic health coach. I wouldn't even put the word nutrition anywhere in your title in a red or orange state personally. But I'd rather my job is to try to keep you safe rather than have something go wrong.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. Because I had been coaching prior to going to IIN, and then we graduated and we heard we could change that. I said, I'm not even going to go that direction. I'm going to stay just a health coach because you never know. And I was even told at one point, and I cannot remember who mentioned this to me, that it's a good thing I graduated when I did or got my certification, because the FDA is probably eventually going to try to take this profession and plug it into institutions and require a degree to be a coach.
Yeah. So it's moving that direction. Certification is definitely moving that direction.
I agree. So yeah, so important not to, think that we've got all this freedom, because it'll probably be snatched out from underneath us anyway at some point. So yeah, I'm super conservative, just like you. I'm super careful. So, okay. So let's go ahead, and I want you to just do your thing, and then we'll get back to more questions after.
Okay, and I welcome all questions. So I just want to take a moment and share with you sort of the first two legal steps that you might want to put in place if you're starting out in your practice or you don't have any legal steps. I actually have 7 that I align with all 7 chakras that you put in place as you grow in your business. But the first 2 are really important, and we've kind of talked about them a little bit here. The first one is, if you have a website, you want to have a website disclaimer. And what I mean by that is you want to have a document that's a couple pages long, actually, that is accessible through the footer of your website. So there's a word disclaimer in the foot of your website, and it pulls up this hidden page. And what that page contains is things that say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving you medical advice, my testimonials are just examples. This is all information and education to support you in your work. So that anyone who comes to your website is just seeing that you're giving information. And the reason why we put it as a hidden page accessible in the bottom of your website, the little word disclaimer, is so people can see it from every page of your website, and we don't need to have all this disclaimer language up in their face, of course. We don't want that to detract from your beautiful website with all the information to help them. But we do want to make sure you have the proper legal language. 2 sentences at the bottom of your website, I call that a mini disclaimer. That certainly can't hurt you to have that, but you really need to have more than that. So we don't want your websites legally naked, as I like to call it. We want to make sure that you have some language there telling people where your boundaries are, who you are, what you do, and what you don't do. And that protects you and it educates them. So that's step 1, and I align that with the root chakra, because the whole reason why Carmen's presenting this, of course, safety in the health coaching practice, is because we have to feel safe and secure before we can go out and share our gifts with the world. Like all of us, we have to know where we have to get clear and know where the lines are drawn. And when you have that website disclaimer in place, that's the first step. That's the first way to feel more grounded, feel more safe and secure, having something up on your site. The second step is, obviously, most people then go into one-on-one coaching. We start with one-on-one coaching. You might have a group program or an online course, that's great, but one-on-one courses, one-on-one programs, one-on-one services, you want to have a client agreement. And I align this with the sacral chakra. And this is so important, you guys. Like, you want to have a client agreement that actually reflects your program, your work, your policies around payment, around missed calls, around communication. Do you like to get texts from them? Do you allow yourself to get emails? Like, how can people communicate with you? What happens if they miss a session? Do they have to make it up within a week? Do they have to make it up by the end of the program? Do they forfeit it? What about your refund policy? You need to have that in writing. Do you give a full refund ever? Do you give a partial refund? Do you give no refund? You want to have that totally clear for people. And of course, payment. Do you accept payment policies? How do they pay you? When do they pay you? Can you charge their credit card? You want everything to be spelled out, including your program description, what's in your specific program. And a section that I always include is on expectations. Most lawyers don't include expectation sections in their legal documents. But I think they're really important, and here's why. We know as health coaches that when you are really clear as to how you want your client to show up for you, they bring their best forward and they also get the best results. They want to know what it takes for them to be successful and what they're supposed to do. And you, as the leader of your business, get to tell them how you expect them to show up on time, not miss appointments, do their assignments or their homework or their action steps between your calls, make payments on time, like all these things that you want them to stand in their best self. Likewise, you also tell them how you're going to show up for them. You're going to be on time. You're going to prepare resources and documents to help them. You're going to have action steps prepared to help them try to maximize reaching their goals. So you get to tell them how you're going to show up for them too. And that feels really good to a lot of people to have both of you talking about how you're showing up.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
Yeah, it is a partnership. That's right, Carmen. And I always say that the coaching agreement, the client agreement, is actually a gift to your clients. Like, people go, what, an agreement? How can that be a gift to my clients? But when all of your policies are in the one place and you're super crystal clear right from the start, your client feels at ease and relaxed and is comfortable because everyone knows the same rules of the game and everyone's agreed, everyone's signed, and you're off and running. And by the way, signing of electronic documents is allowable. So you can use a service. You don't have to have the person print it out and sign it and scan it back to you. You can, but you don't have to. You can use a service like HelloSign or DocuSign or EchoSign and upload your document, indicate where you want them to sign. They sign actually by typing, and then you send it off. So that's perfectly permissible for a client agreement.
Great. And let me just interject. When one of the reasons that I created a what to expect from working with me page really wasn't based on anything legal. It was based on me being tired of like getting the wrong audience. I was always getting people that wanted me to fix them and do it for them. And so I created a what to expect from working with me statement that let them know I am interested in working with people who are interested in helping themselves.
That's right.
I want them to care more about themselves than I care about them, those types of things. And also let them know that I am supportive and I'm going to give you everything you need in resources to help you along your way. I think it's helpful for people because it can either make them go, well, maybe I'm not ready to get serious about this yet. And then it also lets them know that you are going to be there for them. So I love that you said that. I think it's really important everybody have something that tells the world what they're willing to give to them, but this is what I expect to honor my business and myself as well.
And exactly, Carmen, it's funny because and you know this, of course, but in case other people don't know, I always talk about the fact that the law is spiritual too.
Yeah.
That law is both protects you in all these practical ways, but it also energetically, like I'm one of the few lawyers that talks about energy, but I really believe in energy. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in the fact that when you get clear about your boundaries and your policies, you attract to you people who also have those same or similar boundaries. And when, just like you said, Carmen, when you're really clear about what to expect when working with me, not only is that going to draw to you people who are going to show up because you're clear, but then they actually can see, like you said, they can ask themselves, am I actually ready to do this?
Yeah.
And the more clients you work with, our time is so limited that you only want those people to show up who are really ready to accomplish what they've set out to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Good.
Great. So those are the first two steps. I don't know, Carmen, if other people have questions. I'm happy to answer some more questions.
Let me hop on and take a look here. Let me put my glare glasses on. I hate these glasses. I'm going to invest in a good pair of reading glasses without the, with the little bifocals on them at some point.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. Bonnie asked, Lisa mentioned the guy at Whole Foods can recommend product because they have a brick and mortar store. Does that same rule go for online stores? That's a great question.
Not typically. It depends. If the online store is attached to a brick and mortar store, sometimes there's an exception for that. But each state is different. Like, for example, if you have an online store for your USANA supplements, the same rule doesn't apply. It really is like a brick and mortar grocery store. And the reason for that, if you think about, so many of the laws come back to public policy, you guys, right? Like, you want us, our country, our world wants people in stores to be able to tell people who come into the store about the products in the store. Like, that's why they're there, is to assist you and help you. So they have to be able to talk somewhat about these products and help direct people to the products that they want. They just have not usually made that exception yet for online stores. The law is always looking backwards, unfortunately. That's part of the reason why I sort of left the traditional practice of law, because I, like all of you health coaches, am looking forward. We're always looking to prevent things from happening in the future, but the law takes a while to catch up. So we have to just follow the law the way it's written and use our best judgment. And I just recommend erring in the side of being more reserved and restricted. Just like Carmen said, act like you're in a red state if you're in a green state, et cetera.
Great. So one thing I wanted to just touch on briefly was, some of the questions that people, when you set a webinar like this, they're like, just in case I can't make it, I have a question or I have some questions. And one of the things was about, okay, so can you say that you are a health and wellness coach, even if you just graduated from a health coach institution? You didn't graduate or come from a wellness university or something like that. Are you able to use those words interchangeably?
You are. Again, in case you're in a state for some reason that doesn't, but you are, because wellness and health coaching, health coach, wellness coach are not words that are regulated. They're not licensed. There are certification programs for them, but you can hold yourself out as a wellness coach or a health coach or a life coach or a holistic health coach or a holistic health and life coach. I mean, you want to be accurate and you want to be clear about what it is that you do, but health and wellness is a very generally recognized term that is usually associated with helping provide people with general nutrition, general information. And you can certainly call yourself that, at least as far as I know.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to just kind of bring some clarity to is it possible that the people, as Dave so eloquently put it, the guy with the nail through his nose at Whole Foods, And the people that are working in brick and mortar businesses like chiropractors and they sell supplements and whatnot, are they able to share information about the products because they are under a different insurance umbrella that might protect them? So if, for example, if a health coach works for a doctor, they might be covered by malpractice insurance or whatnot. Is there no? Okay.
It's usually the law. It's the law that governs the brick and mortar institution, or it's the law that like chiropractors, I believe in their scope of practice, they are allowed to prescribe medication or prescribe supplements or prescribing is not the right word, recommend. Okay. And so it depends on their scope of license, and it also depends on their state, right? So some states may allow chiropractors to do something, and some states may allow chiropractors not to. Also, some chiropractors just have supplements for sale. They don't necessarily make recommendations. They're just available for sale. So you have to be really clear. You don't, just like a lot of health coaches, you can have a link to supplements if you're allowed to in your state that goes to a website, but you didn't tell anyone what supplements to get. You just have a link to your supplement site, right? So so we don't want to judge. If you walk into a chiropractor's office and be like, oh my God, they're supplements. Like, we don't know exactly what they're doing. We don't know what their law allows. But usually it has to do with the law versus insurance.
Okay, so law trumps insurance coverage for sure.
Well, law determines insurance coverage.
Determines it, yeah, right, exactly. So, interestingly, when you say that, one of the things that I set up for myself was a store, an Amazon store,
right,
on my website, because these are things I truly believe in. But it kept me away from saying, okay, take this Prescript-Assist. I just say the things that I recommend and have had good experience with are on my website in a store.
Great point. And can I just mention what is so brilliant about the fact that Carmen does that, you guys, is that she is providing general information. And when you're in a red state or an orange state, you're not allowed to do individualized nutrition consulting. So in other words, Carmen, whoever she refers there, she didn't say, tell me your health history, tell me if you have diabetes, tell me what your heart, blood pressure is. She just said, these are things I recommend. And you can give, as a health coach, general nutrition education in orange and red states. You have to get really clear around what that is, really clear. But you can do general things like that. So that is a fabulous way to do it. Okay. And absolutely.
Okay, great. Now there's a couple more questions here. Let's see here. Steve asks, hello, and thanks so much for offering this info-packed webinar. Absolutely. It's obviously a big need for it. I've noticed many well-known natural health-related websites freely use words like heal, reverse disease, nutrition, or make direct phrases such as, this protocol has worked very well for people with this type of cancer. Is this because websites like this have more freedom in the language they can use, since they aren't offering one-on-one advice to a specific individual, which might be what you just kind of spoke about?
And the answer, this is what a lot of lawyers always say, and it drives people nuts, but the answer kind of is, it depends. So it depends on what state they're in. It depends on what they're saying. Like, you can offer a testimonial, but then remember, in your website disclaimer, you have a paragraph that says, testimonials are just examples. This is not indicative of necessarily what will happen for you. This is an example of clients who have achieved these results. So if they're saying something general like, this protocol has been shown or proven, and they link to a research study, they might be able to say that. If they're just making a claim, it depends on what they're allowed to do in their state, and it also depends on the exact wording. This is why people go nuts with lawyers, because lawyers are always like wordsmiths. But actually, the way you say something does make a difference. Yeah. So it would depend on how they said it, where they are, what they're really connecting to. Do they have research to back it up? Like, what are they really saying?
Yeah, and that leads me into another something that I remembered. Someone contacted me this week and said to me that someone told her she's not even allowed to read a label, like read a label and tell what that means. So give me an idea of what that means. So let me ask you this. I used to do grocery store tours where I would take my clients and we would grocery shop, and I would walk them around and teach them how to eat whole food. So we rarely were in the package section anyway.
Right.
But had I pulled a box of gluten-free cereal off the shelf and said to her, okay, so take a look at this label. This has millet, which can affect the thyroid. Da, 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 da. Had I gone through and done that, is that not legal for people to do that generally?
Again, it depends on the state. In red and orange states, there are some states that say you can't even discuss like nutrition planning, nutrition. I don't think it goes so far to say nutrition labels, but like you can't do anything on an individualized nutrition consulting. Now, whether that means taking their individualized information and creating something for them, or whether that means just teaching them or doing an individualized food plan for them or teaching them on an individual basis, some states don't allow that. That doesn't always mean you can't do group general education. Group programs, group cleanses, things like that are sometimes allowable in red and orange states. But the individualized nutrition consulting, some states are really more restrictive than others.
Okay.
You have to really pay attention and know what you're allowed to do in each state.
Yeah. And I've actually added, when I've been revamping and putting my course that's coming up, I have added a section on group coaching in there for this particular reason. Not only is it more lucrative than one-on-one coaching, but I'm going to teach people how to do that group coaching where it is that general information.
Yes.
Gives them more safety and also gives them more money.
Gives you more safety. And it gives you more safety.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, good. Okay. So
can I just add one thing? In a red or orange state in general, what we mean by that is you would not be doing an individualized health history. You would not be doing an individualized intake form. You would not be having a one-on-one meeting with them other than a general, I'm looking forward to working with you. You would not be gathering any information, functional medicine test results from them. It's really, you are providing the same information to everyone. And really the best way to explain this is coaches who do things like teach people how to be gluten-free, perfect. Because why? You teach everyone how to be gluten-free the same way. Step 1, look in your cupboard, see what has gluten. Step 2, remove the items that have gluten. Step 3, learn what doesn't have gluten, go buy it at the store. Step 4, replace, right? So it doesn't matter if someone has diabetes or whatever they have, because you're just providing the same information to everyone. So if you do a 7-day cleanse, that's the same for everyone, usually, not always, but usually allowed in red and orange states. 28-day jumpstart, everyone gets the same lesson week 1. Group calls, great. Totally, usually allowed, because you're providing general education and information to people without any basis for their individual condition. Okay. That's what keeps you safe in red and orange states for the most part.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because I'm in a red state and I coached one-on-one for so long, and I did create an intake form that did gather information. I actually called the school and had that same attorney. We kind of collaborated a conversation about the HIPAA laws and things like that. And I'd have to look up the exact language that I was told, but it had something to do with because I wasn't sharing their information online, or their information wasn't online accessible, that the HIPAA law did not apply to the intake form or something like that.
Yeah, with HIPAA, generally speaking, HIPAA doesn't usually apply to health coaches because we are not taking medical records. We are not keeping medical records. We're not taking medical records. We are keeping health coaching records. We would not give these records to a doctor. We would not, these are our coaching notes, quite frankly. They're not medical records. If you're a health coach who contracts with the doctor's office, or maybe you're a health coach who's employed by a doctor's office, actually, let's talk about that. If you're a health coach who's actually employed, an employee, you get a paycheck from the doctor's office on their staff, you're a member of their staff. This doesn't happen very often, but then you are keeping medical records for the doctor, okay? But if you're a health coach who contracts with the doctor, you have a contract to work together, you're your business, they're their business. Your notes over here are still just your personal notes because you're not giving them to the doctor. They're your notes over here. They're not medical records. They don't go into a medical record. So what I always tell people is, in your website disclaimer, in your client agreements, and all your legal documents, you do want to have a confidentiality section which tells people, hey, listen, beautiful client, I'm going to keep your information safe and confidential because I value our relationship and I act with integrity and I believe in keeping your information safe. However, I am allowed to disclose it. There are a couple of reasons you're allowed to share it. If you're required by law, you can share it with your team or staff or someone who has a right to know or a reason to know, and you can share it with their permission. But you aren't required by law to keep those medical records or to keep medical records or keep your records confidential like licensed practitioners are.
Okay, like in a locked file cabinet or a locked office.
Yeah, and have firewalls and stuff on your computer to keep it safe. You just have to use reasonable care to keep it safe. So yeah, you don't want to leave your client records on your dining room table when your family friends come over for dinner. That's all.
So I think we're hitting a little bit of a nerve here because we're getting a lot of questions. I'm going to look at them in a minute. I promise you I will. But I'm bringing, I think, what other people are thinking. I want to bring.
Sure, please.
So I, as a health coach that focused on the thyroid for a really long time, did get their medical records from them. They emailed me or brought them mostly to one-on-one appointments, brought me copies. and asked me to look at those. And of course, I'd bring up the website, walk them through what each thing meant, showed them, what to ask their doctor, that kind of thing. Always made sure of that. I have a confidentiality clause, of course, always have. Let them know that without their permission, nothing will be shared. What are the legalities of that? Because they brought their record.
Yeah, that's okay. So here's the difference, you guys. Patients or clients, we don't call them patients, obviously, but a medical patient who's our clients can share information with us as they wish. Again, when you're in a red or orange state, you have to be really careful not to do this, but let's just pretend you're in a yellow or orange or yellow or green state. You are allowed to take their individual information and look at it. And you are able to create an individualized nutrition plan for them. If you're a red or orange state, they can share that information for you, but you're not allowed to create an individualized plan for them. That's the tricky part. So the safest bet is not to see the information, because those of us who went to IAN, we learn about bioindividuality, and we're so tempted to want to tell them specifically what types of supplements to take and and we're not allowed to do that in the red and orange state. So it's better to stay away entirely from getting their specifics. If they want to share them with you, Carmen, and they come to you like they did to say, hey, look, Carmen, you understand all this stuff. I'm not sure I understand. Can you tell me and help me understand what this doctor wrote on this record? That's totally fine. You can help them understand, just like they could go to their best friend and ask their best friend to help them understand, right?
Yep.
But we're not medical practitioners. So we don't have a legal requirement to keep that information safe. That is a client sharing their record with us. That is not us keeping a medical record. Huge difference.
Okay, so then a follow-up question to that would be this. Instead of me repeating myself over and over again about the thyroid, okay, so make sure you look at this article about cooking your goitrogens, blah, da, 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 da. I mean, oh my gosh, 2 years I repeated myself over and over again. Instead of doing that, I spent a good year writing content, and I created an ebook on the thyroid.
Great.
I also created an ebook that is a food guide, which is a general recommendation for people to look at. It's educating them, it's preparing them, and then giving them the opportunity to take action on those steps. That's general information. Is that correct? Yes.
And here's the distinction. I'm so glad you said that. So you guys, we can do things like how to read your medical record, how to understand your thyroid. Here's an ebook on foods that support the thyroid. You can do that because you're giving general information, like you said.
Right.
You're not saying, Susie Q, tell me about your specific thyroid. Okay, wait, let me see. Let me create this for you. Susie Q, do this. You're just like, oh, great. Okay, you have a thyroid issue? Here's my thyroid book. The next person comes in. Oh, you have a thyroid issue? Here's my thyroid book.
Awesome.
Do you understand? You're not giving individualized. You're telling everyone the same thing.
Yes.
That's how people like Dr. Mark Hyman can write books on like the blood sugar solution. People are like, he's a doctor. How can he tell people about their blood? Because he tells everyone the same thing. Okay. It's just like how to go gluten-free, how to eat a paleo diet, how to remove sugar from your diet, how to understand your thyroid, right? You're not, and as long as, which I'm sure you're not, Carmen, you're not representing your doctor. You have disclaimers all over the place. You have a mini disclaimer saying, I'm not a doctor. This is just general information to help you. Talk to your own doctor. You're educating them. That is what you're allowed to do in a red and orange state.
Awesome. See, I'm so happy,
right?
Because that goes right in line with everything I've been doing. Whether I knew it or not, I guess I've been doing the right thing, which is really,
it's very nuanced. It's hard to tell someone that in like 2 seconds, which is why I usually talk to people one-on-one in legal chats and explain and listen to their situation and their state, because it's hard to educate people about where those lines are drawn in like 2 sentences. It just takes a little bit to explain the context. Absolutely. General information allowed, individual taking their information and creating a plan for them, not allowed in red and orange states.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's go into some of these questions. We got quite a few.
Okay.
So let's see here, Dave. Boy, Dave, I tell you what, you are always my mind. He attends a lot of my courses and stuff. He always gets my mind.
Hey, Dave.
Yay. So semantics. Can I use educator instead of coach? Many states have heartburn with that word. I have a degree in adult education, so it's not a lie.
Look at your state law, Dave, and see if there's a defined definition of health educator in your state laws, and there very well may be. If you qualify for that definition, you can use that definition.
Great. Yeah. And that's another, that's again, when you call the HPSO, That's what they have as a title for people like us,
Yeah.
health educator. So
Which is great, but you still need to check with your own state law to make sure you're allowed. Because some people have like diabetes educator is actually like a state defined term.
right.
So just make sure health educator doesn't have, you start with Google your state law. You can talk to a lawyer, obviously, in your state, but you can even just Google and look for a definition and see if it pops up. Start there anyway. Start there.
And the HPSO people aren't going to know that. So don't ask them if it's legal to do that in their state. They won't know. They won't know. Okay. So Dixie asked, can you mention those electronic signature websites again, please?
Yeah, of course. You guys, there's a bazillion of them. So I don't play favorites. I mean, there's really a bazillion of them. But you can even just Google electronic signature for documents and you'll get a bunch. But some that I just happen to remember off the top of my head because they're easy is HelloSign, DocuSign, and it used to be called EchoSign. It's by Adobe. I think it used to be Adobe EchoSign. I feel like they've changed their name to like Adobe Cloud something, but just type in electronic signatures. There's also one that's like iSign or something. There's a gazillion of them. And some of them are free. Some of them let you do like up to 5 documents for free a month. Some you pay $15 for however many documents a month. It really depends. So just check them all out and see which one feels good to you.
Okay, great. Dave, again, he asked if my client, this is a great question. This one, I knew this was going to come up. If my client is in a red state, do I have to comply with their laws if I'm offering services from a green state?
No, as the health coach, you comply with the laws based on where your business is based.
Awesome. Yeah, great. That's a good question. Marie says being a health coach is getting tough to sell. It's really not. I really don't think it has to be difficult.
No.
Honestly, having done this for almost 6 years now of coaching, you can do this the right way. You can make good money at it. It is possible. So don't let that scare you off. And let me say this. I mean, there is going to be a time, I think, I don't know if it's my day and time because I'm 45 years old, but hopefully we will see the time where health coaches are the go-to for helping people bridge that gap between doctors and clients / patients. I mean, we are there to help them make sense of all of this. And if we think it's difficult or we start dropping off because we don't know the details of how to do this, then we're going to lose really valuable people that have gotten certifications to help people. So I encourage you to keep, going to webinars and taking courses that make sense and learning how to continue to do this because we need us. I mean, we truly do.
Yes. Please, please share your gifts with the world. Learn from Carmen, be brave, it's such an important area. And even understanding the legalities, please don't get overwhelmed, you guys. This is a lot of stuff to take in one webinar. Don't get overwhelmed at all. There are definitely things that you can very clearly do in red and orange states versus yellow and green. It's just when you get it, when it clicks, you're like, oh, okay, now I can do all this. I just am not really allowed to do this. So you just have to get really clear. That's all. And I'm always happy to talk to people. I do free 20-minute legal chats with people. That's accessible from my website at lisafraley.com. You can sign up for a free legal chat or lisafraley.com/legal chat. So if you have questions, I'm happy to talk to you. That's why I do a lot of the legal chats, helping people get clear in their own state.
Yeah. And that's how you and I hooked up because I knew I'm changing my scope of practice here. I'm going from what I've been doing to something different. And I'm still, I'm going to be making changes to my website. I've got a lot going on, so I'm going to be shifting that. But, that's how we connected was I signed up through your legal chat. So I'm so glad we did. Okay, so we've got more questions. So Hallie Hudson asks, I'm in Virginia, which is green right now, and I will be in ministry having vitamins, minerals, foot detoxes, organic and natural products, etc. in the retail store. I will be board certified on naturopath, aromatherapy, homeopathy, and nutritional therapist.
Wow, amazing. Congratulations.
Woo! Yeah, no kidding. What would be the best title for her? So generally speaking, obviously you don't know her certifications and her history. If someone were to say, these are all of the things that I have going on, what would be a good title for someone like that? I'm thinking health coach still because it's so general.
I love that.
Yeah.
Honestly, you read that so fast, I'd have to listen to it again. But if any of those require licensure or certification at the state level, and you are going to practice that, then I would call yourself that as well as the health coach. So you could say naturopath and health coach, or I can't remember exactly all the ones that you read so beautifully. Because if you have a licensure, that's the one that you should lead with. If you're going to be practicing that licensure, under that licensure. and that's important because I think actually most states require that if you have that licensure and you are practicing that way, you have to hold yourself out that way. If you're not, like you're a doctor and you're a health coach now, like I have clients who are doctors who don't want to be a doctor anymore and they want to be a health coach. They can't say on their website, hi, I'm a health coach and a doctor. Like they can't. They just say, hi, I'm a health coach. And over here in their bio, they say, oh, by the way, I was a doctor for 20 years or whatever. And then they have disclaimers that disclaim that. So for you, you want to be really clear. If you do want to practice under the licensure, that I would lead with that first.
Okay, so because she said I will be board certified, and then she named the naturopath, aromatherapy, homeopathy. Would it be? I'm just trying to bring clarity for her.
Yeah, sure. So if a naturopath it has certification requirements in your state, I would check that first. They may not. I'm not familiar, obviously, with all the states. Same with aromatherapy or homeopathy or the others that you named. I know often they don't, but I would check with under your state law first and see which one feels like you should lead with it. It's hard for me to answer that. And you know, Carmen provided such a great answer with health coach because it kind of incorporates everything. The other thing, you guys, when you have so many of us are multi-talented and multi-trained and multi-educated, and we've come from the corporate world, and some people are yoga instructors or, you know, personal trainers like Carmen. Like we have so much education and knowledge that it's hard to know what to lead with. Part of it is feeling into yourself and intuitively figuring out what feels right for you. And then partly is obviously legally, if you have requirements that you have to follow, you want to of course lead with those.
Yeah, so she could see the same type of thing a doctor's doing. See, she could say, I'm a health coach, and then on the side, her about me or her description could say, I am a board certified nat. So that would be a good blanket term. It's just
Or you can create your own term. Like I came up with the fact I call myself a legal coach, and I trademarked that term because for me, I'm a lawyer and a coach, and I pulled it together. So I usually call myself a legal coach and attorney for entrepreneurs. Right. So you can come up with what feels good to you too.
Yeah, and I changed mine recently, you know, from just being a health coach to your health coach with a functional approach, and trademarked the term because that is how I approach all things health, even how I teach. So yeah, that's a great idea. So, okay, so we've got several more questions. So it's okay to design a detox program and not worry about selling it in my red state. So I think she's referring back to the general. If she's going to tell everyone the general.
Exactly. If you tell everyone a 7-day detox or 21-day detox or 28 detox, and there's nothing personalized in it at all for anyone, you are generally good to go.
Awesome. Gosh, that's going to answer, that is actually going to answer a lot for a lot of people out there that are purchasing. Like I know that I support Kathleen Legris and I support Rachel Feldman, and I'm affiliated with them, and they sell great products for people to use with their clients. You know, stop reinventing the wheel and purchase something done. You're using it with everyone. You're not just giving it to Joe or whatever, then it's safe to do so. Great.
Exactly.
Natalie asked, can we get the slides? You're going to get the recording. So any of the information on the slides will be available to you in the recording. Yes, set us loose on health and wellness, folks, for sure. Okay. Steve asks, suppose that as a health coach, you have a client who has a particular health challenge, and you suggest an article for them to read that talks about that challenge. And then the client reads the article and plainly asks you, so do you think that if I do what this article suggests, it will help me with my health challenge? What's the safest way to answer or reframe the question? I love that. I would like to answer this one because this happens all the time.
Go ahead, Carmen.
So this happens to me so often, and I get these, this comes to me even with people that are not my clients that think, well, because I know you, I get the right to ask you questions and get free help. It happened to me last night. I got the question, so can I use Smooth Move tea on every single night, or should I use it every now and then? Is it safe for me to use it every night? Because this person, I remember this client from a year ago. She's not willing to change her diet, so she's just going to Centreleaf herself to happiness with her bowel movements. And I simply said to her, I said, it has been my experience and knowledge from research that using a product like Senna Tea is not safe long term, but I suggest that you go out and read this particular article and make that decision for yourself. As we know, whole food is the best avenue to good health. So I generally answered the question specifically using her name. I didn't even address the fact that we'd worked together prior, because that disclaimer and that waiver of liability was over, because I haven't worked with her in a long time. So if someone said this to you, this to me right here, I would say, There's no way that I can answer that for liability reasons. The only thing I can say to you is if this article speaks to you or resonates with you, it might be something that you consider.
And you can also say, and check with your doctor.
Yeah, you throw that in there. I mean, you don't know if it's safe for their medical condition.
That's right.
And I'd like to throw this in as well for the, what do we call them? The suckers sometimes, the people that suck information and time out of you. They're trying to get everything they can from you because you're such a wealth of knowledge and information as a coach. People they're gravitating to you. They think they can fix you. And sometimes it's just really unpleasant at a party when you can't get away to go socialize and have a good time because someone's asking you about their rheumatoid arthritis. Not that that hasn't happened a thousand times. But the phrase I like to use with people is, gosh, I really wish I could, help you with that. But it's against the law. I'm working in a state that doesn't allow me to tell you what to do. But, I've had past clients have great success with getting nightshades out of their diet. So you can say things that generally lead them in a direction to do their own homework. Let them do their own work, basically. Yeah. So did you have anything you want to add to that, Lisa?
No, I think it's so hard because we all, as health coaches, and even attorneys, believe it or not, we all come from a place of wanting to serve and wanting to help and wanting to answer people's questions especially when you kind of know an answer that could help them. But the truth is we don't know their whole situation. We just really don't. They can't tell it to us in the 5-minute cocktail party scenario. So the way you answer that, Carmen, was so right on, perfect, because you can offer a suggestion, but we don't know. We have no idea. They could be allergic to nitrogen. We don't know. We have no idea. So you can offer ideas and then just sort of invite them to explore them on their own or work with their own health coach or talk to their doctor about it. Because we just have to keep you guys safe. That's the goal. We want to help, but also keep you safe.
Yeah. And, I run into people all the time at a local pharmacy that sells all kinds of healthy, supplements and herbs. And I run into people up there and I will literally sometimes just duck and go the other way because I know that they're going to come up with their basket and say, I've had it happen. Can you tell me if I can take this stuff? And I'm like, I cannot tell you that. And I know it sounds like a cop out to say liability, the liability is too much for me. But it's really, truly not. It is the absolute truth. Even if you're in a green state, you do have responsibilities to protect yourself. So saying that the liability is too great for you is not a lie. It is absolutely the truth if you want to stay safe.
And again, just like all of us, we don't know their situation. They may not be telling you their whole situation. So you're just sort of guessing, right? We don't know until we know.
Yep, that's right. And I mean, I will use this as an example with, my mom she's got a clotting disorder, a genetic clotting disorder.
Exactly.
Literally almost died giving birth to me. 104 temperature. No one could find out what was wrong with her. That was 45 years ago. It's still a part of her life today. So she's on medication. And she was told, you really need to be eating a lot more of this, and this, like kale, something with high protein in it. Well, that could make her bleed.
Yep.
More, right?
Yep,
so she can't clot. And I told her, I said, never, ever, ever listen to just somebody telling you what to eat or do, Mom. Never. This is, years ago. Thankfully, she has me now. But she didn't realize how that food could affect her blood, and that is a scary thing. I don't want that responsibility for anyone out there where I don't know their what's going on with their health. So it looks like we have one more question popping in, and then we're going to move forward. I think you have to go by your most restrictive license or title. So if I'm a nurse, don't I have to include that and go by those laws? This issue is confusing to me.
It is confusing. As a licensed practitioner, it is confusing. So here's the thing. If you are still practicing as a nurse, or you want to continue practicing as a nurse, you want to keep your health coaching practice entirely separate. Because when you're a nurse, you're being a nurse. So maybe you're working with a hospital or a medical practice, or you are a diabetes educator. Maybe you're doing whatever in your nursing role, wearing your nursing hat, not literally, but figuratively. And over here, part-time, or maybe you're starting your health coaching business, you are a health coach. You're holding yours, hi, I'm a health coach. Nice to meet you. You're not holding yourself out as a nurse. If you're working with clients all over the world, if you're in your same state, this is a good point. If you're only working with in-person clients in your state, you can do both together. But most health coaches want to work with people all over the place from the comfort of our own homes, right? That's partly what's so appealing about this job for so many people. So if that's the case, you want to keep your nursing and your health coaching entirely separate. And I mean like separate websites, separate everything, separate business cards, separate titles, separate everything. On your health coaching website, in your bio page, you can say, I have been a licensed practical nurse, or I've been a registered nurse, or I've been a nurse practitioner, or I've been an advanced practice nurse, or whatever your qualifications are for however many years. You can say that, but you are representing on that page. So when they pull that page up, all they're seeing is health coach. You guys, I have a doctor client, a doctor who pulls up, you pull up her webpage. Hi, I'm a health coach. You don't see anywhere on that homepage at all that she's a doctor, like at all, because she's not acting in the role of a doctor. And the other way that you work with this is that when your clients come to you as health coaches, this is why for you in particular, having your website disclaimer and having your client agreement, although it's important for everyone, you're going to be saying, in this role, I am not acting as your nurse. I am not acting as your medical provider. I am a health coach. You need to still see your doctor to talk about your particular situation. You still need to, go to your own doctor for medical advice. I'm not giving you medical advice because you're not as a health coach. You can't. So you have to be very conscious if you're a licensed professional stepping into the health coaching role that you don't just fall into default mode of giving medical advice, because you can't. So you just have to get really, really clear how to separate the two. You can separate them, but you just have to get really clear. I hope that helps.
Yeah,
it is complicated, but I hope it helps.
Yeah, I think that clarifies things. Dixie, if it doesn't clarify it for you, just throw a chat in there real quick. I think we are getting close on, we're definitely over the hour, but that's okay. I mean, I put aside till 1 o'clock today. I think this is that important. Steve says, outstanding answers. Thanks. I'm getting so much value out of this webinar. I'm so glad. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, I do want to say, I've done webinars and on, multiple subjects for health coaches, and I teach courses on it and all that. And I have never seen a response like this, as far as how many people signed up. And yes, I got a lot of people that could not join live, obviously, but having that many people signed up for something tells me that this is a really big pain point for coaches. And I think that, I think we all, like you said, we have this great passion to give, and to give of our time, to give of our information. We really, truly want to help people. And that's how I started doing this, is that I was like, oh, you're too tired after your workout. Well, did you eat enough carbs this morning? And, I was just wanting to make sure these people were having great workouts and feeling better, which led into so much more about what was going on with them. But I think it's really important to understand and for people to see the health coaching profession as a valuable thing that we offer to people that we deserve to be paid to do. Mm-hmm. So, I wanted to make that point because I kind of coined the term, health coach hobbyist, people who are giving away all of their great knowledge and information for free while they've paid for their education to understand it. And part of that, part of being a health coach is knowing that you are safe to do these things wherever you are, whether you're doing it at home or one-on-one, to feel comfortable and peace of mind and knowing that you are doing the right thing. You are covered. You have everything you need to feel safe sharing information. So with that said, I want to give you a minute to talk about your do-it-yourself stuff that you are coming out with.
Okay, just real quick. Yeah, sure. And Carmen will have the links for you guys. But I'm so excited. Just a week or two ago, I finally, after doing one-on-one work for health coaches for 4 years, I finally have do-it-yourself legal documents. And I'm so excited about it. So that website disclaimer we were talking about and your client agreement, you actually can do a do-it-yourself version where you get an audio guide with it of my lovely voice, walking you through the whole document and helping you understand what each section says and how to fill the document out. But you just do it on your own at home. You don't need to have me actually in person doing it with you. That is super exciting. And Carmen you can look at the information on the website, but Carmen will have some links for you as well. And that will allow you to get that website disclaimer in place up on your website and to get your client agreement in place to use with your clients that's specifically for your program.
So you can see this, right? You can see this.
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure. I've had such bad luck with that.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. And I'm excited about it too, because I am, moving in a new direction. I am lacking things. I am going to have to make some changes to my website as well. So I'm really excited to have those options too. So with that said, I would like to just drop this in here one more time about April 6th.
Great.
If you found value in this webinar, I want to let you know that I am doing a preview webinar. It's free, again, free like this. And I'm going to be teaching three steps to coaching success. I am not going to promise you a three-figure income in this webinar. I'm not going to go crazy with bells and whistles and hype. I'm going to give you some good content-rich information similar to what we're doing right here about the method of coaching that I've been using for almost 6 years. That is, no one's teaching this stuff. I'm going to teach you in this webinar how to use 3 steps, to use the resources that are out there for us, to stop wasting time, all of that good stuff. And I'm going to introduce you to my course that's going to start on April the 18th. That Lisa's going to be a part of, which I'm so excited. I've got some great partners for this course. It is going to be a lot of information that coaches are going all over the place looking for. It's going to be in one place. So I just want to make sure you guys mark your calendars, save the date for April 6th. Even if you can't attend live, sign up, because then you're going to get a copy of the recording and all the helpful information that comes with it. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for being here today. This has been more than helpful and valuable to have you here, Lisa. You've just been amazing. And I do want to say, please share anytime you ever do these on our Health Coach page for everybody. I think it's important to hear it more than once. There's going to be other questions and other webinars that are going to be valuable. And a shout out to Kathleen Legris. Her last name is spelled Legrys. She is doing a webinar with you. And yeah, I'm going to put that out there too, so people can do that as well. Absolutely.
Thank you. So I saw Jason just sent in a quick question. Jason, you can check out the Facebook page. My Facebook page is lisafraley.com/ it's facebook.com/Lisa Fraley Legal Coach. That's where you can find the tax tips. Carmen's going to send out to you links. I gave her some special links to use for the website disclaimer, client agreement, and other DIY documents, so you can find those there. And thank you, Carmen. You were so nice to bring up my website. It's going to get a facelift. I'm getting a new website in a couple of weeks, but I'm really excited about that. And Carmen, just thank you so much for sharing this information with everyone, for your leadership as a health coach, for helping other people learn how to run their businesses, because it is so important that the world have beautiful health coaches to help so many people. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And just as, let me answer this and then we'll sign off. Natalie asked where to sign up for the April 6th webinar. I'm going to be sharing the registration page. It's probably going to go live here in about a week, but you can, if you are not on my Facebook page yet, please join us there. That's where I share all of this information about upcoming events and things like that. And it is Health Coach Resource Center, Carmen Hunter. You can even just friend me on Facebook and I will add you to that Facebook group. I like the idea that we all have one place where we can all go instead of separate places where we can get information. I am all about supporting the people that are doing the things that I don't do and I don't know about, like the Lisas and the Rachels. And I think that we need to see each other as partners in this industry, in this profession, utilize our experts and our resources and learn from each other so that we can make a bigger difference in the world. And that's what this is all about. So anyway, thank you again to everyone for being here, and keep your eyes open for the email. I will be sending all the links we've talked about and also a copy of the recording. So
thanks for all your great questions, everyone. So appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Lots of legal love. Bye.
Lots of legal love. Bye.